Good evening, scholars. Welcome back to another live PEP class this evening. Being Thursday, we're focusing on PEP critical thinking skills. We're going through 12 questions and going to think really deeply about these questions and analyze them and see if we can work out the solutions. In studio with me, I have my dedicated scholars as usual. Welcome, Antoine. Welcome, John, Amari, Alison, and hopefully all will join as we go along. Good evening, joining on the chat. DK, welcome. Teresa, welcome. All right, so I would like for you to read question 1.
Okay, miss. Number 1. Share $800 among Peter, Elizabeth, and Peggy so that Elizabeth and Peggy each get twice as much as Peter. Number 1. Share $800 among Peter, Elizabeth, and Peggy so that Elizabeth and Peggy each get twice as much as Peter. Share $800 among Peter, Elizabeth,
All right, so what's our approach for this one? We're going to share. So it's 3 persons we're sharing this up among. And they're telling us that Elizabeth and Peggy each get twice as much as Peter. What are your ideas? If we work ratio and Elizabeth and Peggy as much as Peter, what would be the ratio? Let's say we're going to say that Peter's share is 1. Since he's getting the least, if Peter's share is 1 in the ratio, what would Elizabeth's share be? What would her ratio be, and what would his ratio be? Good night, Imani. Welcome. So DK is saying Peter got $160 and Peggy and Elizabeth got $320 each. Tell us, DK, how you came by those figures. Because remember, all right, so the ratio would be 2 to 2 to 1. All right, so both DK and the money are correct. So I had asked first for the ratio. So since it says Elizabeth must get twice as much as Peter, Peggy must get twice as much as Peter, we can express that as a ratio. Peter's being the least, we can say, okay, let Peter's ratio represent the unit value, which is 1. So if Peter gets 1 and Elizabeth must get twice as much, Elizabeth would get 2 parts. And so would Peggy, because both Elizabeth and Peggy are getting 2 parts. All right, so Antoine's answer is just coming in 2 to 2 to 1. So 2 for Elizabeth, 2 for Peggy, 1 for Peter. So now that we have that ratio, we can just, for each person, we'd add the ratio. 2 plus 2 plus 1 is 5. So Elizabeth would be 2 over 5 times 800. That would give the $260. Sorry, $320. Same for Peggy, 2 over times 800. She would get 320, DK said. And Peter, of course, would be 1 over 5 times 800. So he would get $100. All right, so 2 to 2 to 1 is the ratio, or $320 for Elizabeth, $320 for Peggy, and $106 for Peter. Let's go on 2. And
Okay, miss. Number 2. Susan sits and rests for 15 minutes after every session that she spends practicing her breaststroke. If each session lasts for 1 hour and for 1.5 hours, and Susan starts practicing at 7:20 a.m., at what time does she end her final rest after practicing 3 sessions?
okay,
Number
read it
3.
again, Anton.
Susan sits and rests for 15 minutes after every session that she spends practicing her breaststroke. If each session lasts for 1.5 hours, and Susan starts practicing at 7:20 a.m., at what time does she and her final rest after practicing 3 sessions?
All right. So what are your ideas for this one? She starts at 7:20. All right. So Jer is saying multiply, but multiply what? And why?
Miss, you would multiply 1 hours and 30 minutes by 3 sessions.
Mm-hmm. And then what?
Miss, if she takes a rest for 15 minutes after every session and she's doing 3 sessions, that's going to be 45 minutes. So, Miss, after you would add the time you have to the 7:20 and see what time she finishes all 3 sessions.
So you're saying multiply the 1 hour and 30 minutes
By
by
3,
3,
Miss.
right? And how
Yes,
much would that give us?
Miss, I'm working that out.
So Jerry's saying, since she does each session for the breaststroke are saying p.m. Mari is saying 11:50 a.m.
Yes, that was John.
So
Sorry, Miss, that
Madison,
was John.
did John, sorry. I have no way of putting. I see Amari's name. All right, so Jerry's saying he multiplied the 1.5 hours by 3. He's working that out right now. Madison, is that what you did?
Miss, it gives you 4 hours and 30 minutes, miss.
Yes, miss.
All right.
And then I added it to 7 hours 30 minutes, and I got 12:45 when you add the session that the rest for 15 minutes, and she does that 3 times, and 15 times 3 is 45.
All right. So the 7:20 is when she started, and we're adding 4 hours and 30 minutes for the three sessions, plus the 4 minutes for the 3 rest periods. So we add those minutes, we get 95 minutes, and we're to take 60 from that. So that leaves 35 minutes, and we carry over 1 hour. So that's 12, but I'm getting 12:35. Right, so Jerry got 12:35. Madison, you had said 12:45. You want to double check your calculations?
Sure, miss.
So 7:20 a.m., that's when she started. She did 3 sessions, and each session lasted 1 hour and 30 minutes. So that's 4 hours and 30 minutes. We're into 7:20. The 45 minutes of rest, because it's 15 periods of rest. So when we add all those minutes, the 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, we get 95. And we can't leave that in minutes. 60 from it leaves 35. Carry over the 1 hour to add with the 7, the 1. So it's 12:35, and that would be PM. So midday has passed, and it is now 12:35 PM. All right, let's move on. Alyssa got 50 AM. Alyssa, maybe I think you forgot to add the rest. Okay. So Madison's saying you had put 7:30 instead of 7:20.
Yes, miss.
Right. Alyssa, I think you forgot to add the 3 rest periods. Remember, she rested for 15 minutes, and it's 3 periods of rest. She's resting also after the 3rd session, so it's 3 periods of rest. Jer, I'm going to ask you to read the question.
Okay, miss. How many circular bottles of radius 10 centimeters could fit inside a square box of length 40 centimeters if the bottles were placed upright? How many circular bottles of radius 10 centimeters could fit inside a square box of length 40 centimeters if the bottles were placed upright?
All right. So, um, what are the ideas here?
Miss, my idea is to divide 10 by 40.
To divide 10 by 40. Why, Antoine?
Miss, I say to divide because it says if the bottles are placed, it says if 10 centimeters, which are circular bottles, can fit inside a square bottle with the length of 40 centimeters, miss.
Yeah. So
So
it
I would,
has, but 40 is just the length, right?
yes, miss.
So we have to think about the space on the bottom of the box. That's where we're going to stack bottles. So each bottle standing on upright. So we have to think not just about length, but about the area of that square box on the bottom of it, because each circular bottle, the bottom of each circular bottle will sit on the area of the box. So how are we going to work out how many of those bottles can fit on the space taken up by the box? Man is saying find the area of the circle and the bottom, then divide them. All right, so that is correct. So we're thinking area, space that is taken up. So we have to see how many of the circles can fit within the space taken up by the square. So what would be the area of the square box, the bottom of the square box? The length is 40 centimeters. Since it's a square box, the width is also 40 centimeters. So what would be the area? Are you sure, Madison? 160? Double check you're working on. And how did you get 160? Antoine said he got 160 as well. I divided 40 times 40. You mean you multiplied 40 times 40. But what do you get when you multiply 40 times 40? It's not 160. When you multiply 40 times 40, how much do you get? Remember, there's a 0 on each 40, so you have to have 2 zeros in your answer.
Myth is 1,600.
1,600, and that would be
1,600.
centimeters square, right?
Yes, miss.
All right, so
Yes, miss.
what would be the area of the circle, the bottom of the bottle, the circular bottle? How do we find the area of a circle?
Miss, circle by multiplying the pi by the diameter. But if you don't have the diameter,
No. No, the circumference is pi times the diameter. How do we find the area of the circle? What's the formula for finding? All right, so Iman is saying pi times the radius squared. So it's the radius times times pi. And pi is 3.14 or 22 over the area of the circle, which represents the bottom of that bottle. So since the radius is 10, it would be 10 times 10 times 3.14. So how much would that give?
$314, miss.
314. So the area of this, which is the bottom of the box, is 1,600 centimeters square. The area of the circle is 314, not 31.4 Imani, 314 centimeters squared. So we're going to divide the 1,600 by the 314. So cancel it down and divide it and see how many times that circle can fit into this square. If you can't divide by the 3-digit number, you can reduce the fraction, divide it by 2, divide it by 4, whatever you can find, and narrow it down, make it smaller and smaller and smaller. All right, in the interest of time, I'm going to tell you. So it goes into it approximately 5 times. So since we need a round number, we round it to 5. 5 of those bottles can stand upright in that box. 314 goes into 1,600 approximately 5 times. Okay, John, number 4.
Yes, miss. Number 4. My neighbor has triplets who are 12 years old. In 13 years' time, what will be their combined ages? My neighbor has triplets who are 12 years old. In 30 years' time, what will be their combined ages?
Okay, so what's our approach for this one? Triplets. So triplets, that's 3 babies born to the same mother at the same time. They are 12 years old now. So in 30 years' time, what would be their combined ages? What do we mean by their combined ages? What do we mean? What does that term mean? Their combined ages.
Miss, all of their ages put together?
All of their ages put together, correct? So Antoine is
Miss,
saying to multiply, but Antoine, you have to tell me multiply what? Jer, how
Miss,
did you get 126?
Miss, you would multiply their current age, which is 12 years old, plus the 30 years, which will give you 42. And if it's 3 of them, it will be times 42 by 3, miss.
Correct. That is correct, Jer. So their combined ages are 126, and DK is just coming in with her answer as well, 126. Melissa is saying combined ages mean their ages all together. That is correct, Melissa. All right, so each of them, so they're triplets, so they're the same age. They're 12 now. So in 30 years' time, each of them will be 42. So their combined ages will be 42 plus 42, or 42 times 3, which is 126. Madison, are you read number 5?
Um, it was number 5. It was noticed that every month the brown hen laid 2 more eggs than the month before, except for the last 2 months when she laid the same number of eggs. If she laid 8 eggs in February when she started and the last month was June, how many eggs did she lay in all? Number 5. It was noticed that every month the brown hen laid 2 more eggs than the month before, except for the last 2 months when she laid the same exact number of eggs. If she laid 8 eggs in February when she started, and the last month was June, how many eggs did she lay in all?
All right, so what do you say? This hen has developed a pattern wherein every month she lays than the month before. And she started laying eggs in February, she laid eggs. She broke the pattern in the last 2 months where she didn't lay 2 more eggs, she just laid the same number of eggs in the last 2 months. So how are we going to work? How many eggs did she lay in all? Madison?
Miss, I got 36 because she laid 8 eggs for 3 months, and then 8 take away 2 is 6. So for the last 2 months, she laid 6 eggs, and 24 plus 12 gives you 36.
No, it didn't say that last 2 months she laid 6 eggs. She was the pattern of laying 2 more eggs, but when she got to the last 2 months, she didn't lay 2 more eggs. She just laid the same number of eggs as the month before. So if she's starting in February and she lays 8 eggs, and the next month she's gonna lay 2 more, so how many that she lay in March?
10, Miss.
10.
10. And how
10
many did
minutes.
she lay in April? How
12.
many she laid in April? 12.
It's in April.
In May?
4.
How many in
14.
May?
14.
14. But June is the last month, and it's saying she didn't add 2 more eggs in June. She just laid the same number of eggs as in May. So she still laid 14 eggs in June. She didn't add 2 more. I guess she got tired or something. So we have 8 in February, 10 in May, in March, 12 in April, 14 in May, and 14 in June. How many eggs altogether? Jer got 54. Are you sure, Jer? Double
Yes,
check.
Miss.
So we're adding 8 plus 10 plus 12 plus 14. How much is that?
Is it 58, Miss?
Yes.
Miss, is it 50?
Okay, Jer, number 6, please. 58 is correct.
Okay.
Read number 6 twice, Jer.
I have 200 milliliter cup and a 250 milliliter cup. I filled the
Oh,
250
Miss,
I got 57.
No, it's 58. 58. Antoine, you got 58 as well. DK got 58. All right, sorry, Jer. Please.
I have 250.
Continue.
I have 200 milliliter cup and a 250 milliliter cup. I fill the 250 milliliter cup 20 times with juice and empty the contents with a huge jar. How many times would I be able to fill the 200 milliliter cup from the jar? I have a 200 milliliter cup and a 250 milliliter cup. I fill the 250 milliliter cup 20 times with juice and emptied the contents into a huge jar. How many times would I be able to fill the 250 200 milliliter cup from the jar?
All right.
Miss, would it be
So
10 times?
how many? Why?
Miss, because
How you come by that?
they're putting 20 into the 200 milliliter cup from the jar, and 20 can go into 210 times.
No, he's putting 20 of the 250 milliliter cup into the jar. Madison,
Miss, I say 14.
how did you get 14?
Miss, I divided 20 into 250.
You divided 20. Where did 20 come? Oh, no, but listen. They're filling the 250 milliliter cup 20 times, you know.
Miss,
So
is it
that
25?
part of it would. How you got 25, Jerry?
Miss, you multiply 250 milliliters by 20, and then you divide the answer by the 200 milliliter cup.
Okay. So 150 milliliter cup, they're filling it 20 times. Right, Madison? So that would be a multiplication operation there. 20 of the 250 milliliters. So 250 times 20, that gives what, Jer?
There you're muted.
Jer,
Yes, miss?
we're not hearing you. I'm asking the 250 times 20 would give what?
5,000, miss.
All right. And so that's what's in the jar now. And then we want to see how many of the 200 milliliter cup could the 5,000 milliliter fill. Now we're going to divide. So we're dividing the 5,000 by 200. All right. So Antoine is still at the first step where he just multiplied 250 by 20. He got 1,000. DK got 25, but she's not telling me how. Melissa seems also to be, Alyssa seems also to be at the first step. Remember, the first step is to see how much juice is in the jar. So 20 of the 250 milliliter cups were poured into the jar. That's the 5,000 milliliters. Now we need to find out how many of the 200 milliliter can that fill. So now we're dividing now by 200 and we get 25. So Jer is correct. Amari, I'm going to ask you to read question 7.
Okay, miss. Number 7. Sheldon bought a hat for
It's money.
$36.70. Oh, $36.70, a knapsack for 51 and $51.50, and a jacket for 3 times the cost of the knapsack. How much change would he receive from a $1,000 bill?
All right. So what's our approach to that?
Miss, I say to multiply the cost for the knapsack 3 times, and then add it to with the hat price and to get our answer, miss. Then subtract it from 1,000, miss.
So what about the cost of the knapsack itself?
Miss,
When you
I'm
multiply the
work.
cost of the knapsack when you multiply the cost of the knapsack 3 times, you're finding the cost of the jacket. So you still must add the cost of the knapsack again, right?
Yes, miss.
So right. So the $51.50 is the cost of the knapsack. We'll multiply by 3 to get the cost of the jacket. So $154.50 is the cost of the jacket, and we add that to the $51.50 for the knapsack and the $36.70 for the hat, and we get $242.70. So next step, Antoine.
Miss, then we should subtract it from 1,000, miss.
All right, so we're paying with a $1,000 bill. So what would be our change? All right, so here is saying
Miss,
$757.30.
miss, I say
John is saying
$750.30.
$757.30. All right. So Jer got that, John got that, Amari got that, Antoine got that as well. I'm gonna ask you to read question 8 twice.
Okay, miss. Number 8. If all the whole numbers less than 30 were placed in a bag and one number was selected randomly, what is the possibility of selecting A prime number, B composite number, C even number? Number 8. If all the whole numbers less than 30 were placed in a bag and one number was selected randomly, what is the probability of selecting A prime number, B composite number, C even number?
All right. So what's the probability of selecting a prime number if we take all the whole numbers that are less than 30 and put them in a bag? All the whole numbers that are less than 30. What would be the probability of getting a prime number?
Miss, would it be 11 over 30?
How you got that?
Miss, because the prime numbers below 30 are 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. 1, 2.
One is not prime, Jerry.
Oh,
One is not a prime number.
Miss, that means it's 10 over 30.
All right, so tell me the prime numbers less than 30.
2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 20, 23.
20?
No, it's 23, 23.
Okay.
23, 20, 23 and 29, miss.
All right, that's correct. So it's It's 10 prime numbers that are less than 30, and whole numbers less than 30 is 30 of them. So from 0 to 29 are the whole numbers that are less than 30. So the probability of picking a prime number is 10 over 30, which cancels to what, Jer?
Miss, cancels to 1 over 3.
1 over 3. And what's the probability of selecting a composite number? What do we mean by composite number?
Miss, composite numbers are numbers more multiples, 2 or more factors,
Not two, not two factors.
3 and
3
more
or more
factors.
factors. Right. So a composite number has 3 or more factors. In other words, it has 3 or more numbers and divide evenly into it. So tell me the composite numbers between that are less than 30.
Miss, the composite numbers less than 30 are 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16, 18, 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28.
That's one. How many of them? How many of them? Count them.
Okay, Miss.
All right. 18 of them. So the probability would be 18 out of 30.
Miss, I would say
And that
18.
cancels to what? 18 over 30 cancels to what? What do we reduce that fraction to?
Miss, that cannot be broken
Reduce
down any further.
18 over 30 cannot be reduced. Is that what you're saying?
No, sorry, Miss. I thought you said 19.
All right. So what is it? John is saying 7 over 15. No, John. 18 over 30. What are we using to reduce it? Madison is saying 14 over 30. No, it's 18
Miss, 3
composite
over 3
numbers.
over 3 over 5, Miss. 3 over 5?
18 over 30 is
Miss, I was talking about for the
3 over 5, Miss.
3 over 5. That's correct. 3 over 5.
Yes, Miss, I got 3 over 5 as well.
What did we use to reduce it? Jer?
Miss, I used 3 into both numbers, and then I got 6 over 10, and then 2 can go into 6 3 times, and 2 can go into 10 5 times.
That is correct. All right. So the probability of choosing a composite number is 3. What's the probability of choosing an even number?
18 over 30, Miss.
How many even number? Tell me the even numbers.
Miss, there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, and 30.
Less 30, Jerry. You can't include 30. It said less than 30.
So 17
So how many
over
even
30.
numbers? No. Count them again. from 2 to 28, even numbers, count them. Quickly, we have a couple of questions left to go.
I would say 14, miss.
14 of them, that's correct. All right, so John said, I'm just seeing your answers, John. I'm 14. Yes. So it's 14 over 30, so that cancels to what?
7 over 15, miss.
7 over 15. All right, let's go to the next question. John, I'm going to ask you to read number 9. Quickly, John.
Number 9. Yes, miss. Number 9. The long hand of the clock travels from 8:30 p.m. to midnight. Through how many degrees does it rotate? Number 9. The long hand on the clock travels from 8:30 p.m. to midnight. Through how many degrees does it rotate?
All right. So how do we approach this question? So the long hand of the clock, so it's moving from 8:30 p.m. all the way around to 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 12 p.m. So how are we going to how many degrees is? How many degrees are in a full rotation of the long hand?
360, miss.
When the long hand goes from the 12 all around to the 12, what's that? Yes. So Amari is saying 360 degrees. John is saying 360 degrees. Sure. Thank you, DK. DK is saying, I am impressed with these students. Miss, keep up the students. So, my scholars, you are impressing our audience. When the long hand travels from the 12 all the way back round to the 12, 1 full hour, that's 360 degrees. So, if it's going to go halfway, so the half an hour of 360 degrees, which is what?
180.
180, miss.
100.
180, miss.
Okay. So going from 8:30 to 9 o'clock, then will be half an hour. So that's 180 degrees, right?
Yes, miss.
And then 9 o'clock, 10 p.m., that's 360 degrees. 10 p.m. to 11 p.m., 360 degrees. 11 to 12 midnight is another 60 degrees. So add those up. Or we can add 360 degrees by the 3 full hours and then add 180, whichever way you prefer to do it. You can have 180 plus 360 plus 360 plus 360, or since it's 360 times 3 and then add half an hour, which is 180.
Miss, is it 1,260?
How much you got?
1,260.
1,260.
Miss, I also got that. Yes, miss.
Everybody
I said 360 times 3 times 108. I mean, plus 108, and I got
plus
1,260. Yeah.
All right, that is correct. That's absolutely correct. All right, Madison, your time, honey. Number 10, twice. Oh, we lost Madison.
Miss, I think her camera's off.
Read. She John, number 10, read for me twice. I, Torian. Quickly, John, we have like 7 minutes. Questions.
Yes, Miss. Number 10. DB is twice as old as Jonathan.
Debbie.
10 years. Debbie is twice as old as Jonathan, who is 10 years older than Suzette. Suzette will be 15 years next year. How old is Miss, is Debbie 48? Did I hear you?
Jerry not even giving the child a chance to read the question one more time. Jerry, how did you get 48?
Miss, because Suzette will be 15 the next year. So that means she's 14. And
Right?
Jonathan is 10 years older than Suzette, so he's 24. And Debbie is twice as old as Jonathan. So 2 times 24 is 48.
Excellent job. John, I still want you to read the question another time. Where's John?
Here.
Go ahead quickly.
Debbie is twice as old as Jonathan, who is 10 years older than Suzette. Suzette will be 15 years old next year. How old is Debbie now?
All right, so Jerry was right on top of things a while ago. So Jerry's saying Suzette will be 15 next year, so she's 14 now. And since Jonathan is 10 years older than Suzette, he is 24 right now. And Debbie is twice as old as Jonathan, so she's 24 times 2, which is 48. All right, Jer, read number 11 twice, please.
Okay, miss. I need 120 milligrams of sugar and 450 milligrams of flour to make 1 brownie. How much of each ingredient would I need to make 5 such brownies? Give your answers in kilograms. I need 120 milligrams of sugar and 450 milligrams of flour to make 1 brownie. How much of each ingredient would I need to make 5 such brownies? Give your answers in kilograms.
Okay. All right. So tell me now what we do now.
Miss, we can either add these two, add 120 milligrams of sugar and 450 milligrams of flour, and then multiply it by 5. Or we can multiply 120
No,
milligrams.
they want how much of each ingredient. So don't combine the ingredient.
Okay.
Tell them how much of each.
You can times 120 milligrams of sugar by 5 and 450 milligrams of flour by 5. Then you break down your answer into kilograms.
So do that and tell me what you get. So the 120, since it's 5 of them, we'll multiply that by 5. What do we get?
600.
600 what?
Milligrams, miss. And if
So
you're
change that to
converting
kilograms.
miss, 0.6 kilograms.
Correct. All right. And then for the flour, so the flour is 450
Miss,
milligrams.
450 times 5.
And we're
It's
going to multiply that
2,250, and then if you break that into kilograms, it's 2.25.
2.25.
correct. Okay, and John's answer is coming in to 2.25 kilograms. So 0.6 kilograms of the sugar and 2.25 kilograms of the flour. Antoine, can you read the last question, please?
Okay, miss. Number 12. How many cubes of area 25 centimeters squared can fit into a cuboid of length 20 centimeters, width 10 centimeters, and height 5 centimeters? Number 12. How many cubes of area 25 centimeters squared can fit into a cuboid of length 20 centimeters, width 10 centimeters, and height 5 centimeters?
How are we going to find that out? So we want to know how much, how many of the,
Miss, would you multiply 20
you're
centimeters,
going to do what?
multiply 20 centimeters, which is the length, by 10 centimeters, which is the width, then you multiply it by the height, miss, then you divide it by 25 centimeters squared, and would give you 40 cubes.
Well, the first step is correct. We are multiplying the length by the width by the height. What are you finding?
Miss, would you be finding the volume?
John?
Miss,
So you'll be finding the
volume.
So the idea is we need to find the volume of the cuboid and the volume of, and then divide to see how much the cubes can hold in the cuboid.
Miss,
So the volume of the cube, you got 40. How did you get 40, John?
Miss, I did 20 times 10 times 5, and I got 1,000. So Miss, I did 1,000 divided by 25, and I got 40.
The 25 represents what?
Miss, centimeters squared. Centimeters
So
squared.
that is what? Is that the perimeter, the area, the volume?
It's the area. It's the area. It's the area of the
So
cube.
why are you dividing the volume of the cuboid by the area of the cube? We need to divide the volume of the cuboid by the volume of the cube. So what's the volume of the cube?
This was the volume. It should be 5 times 5 times 8.
Miss, is it 1,000?
You're saying the volume of the cube is 1,000, Jer?
Yes, miss,
No,
because
no, that's for the cuboid, Joe. That's for the cuboid.
The volume of the cuboid is 1,000 centimeter cube. What's the volume of the cube?
It's 8. It's 8.
If the area of the cube is 25 centimeters squared, that means each side is what? If the area of one face of the cube is 25 centimeters squared, what is the length of a side of the cube?
It's 8.25.
Pardon me?
Miss, I said 8.25.
No. The side of the cube is the square root of its area, because remember, we would have gotten the area by multiplying by the side. So what times what?
5.
it's 5.
It's 5.
Miss, I
The
got
side of the cube.
25.
All right, so to get the volume of the cube, you need to multiply the area by the height, which is 5. So 25 times 5 gives what?
Miss, 25 is 1. Miss, it's 125.
125 centimeters cube. So we're dividing the volume of the cuboid, which is 1,000 centimeter cube, by the volume of the cube, which is 125 centimeter cube. So divide that now and it will tell you how many of the cube can fit into the cuboid. 1,000 divided by 125.
4, Miss.
Reduce it. How many times?
Miss, 4 centimeters cube.
No. We just want to know how many. So this unit will not
Miss,
be in
Miss, I got 8. Miss, is it 8?
8. So it's 8 cubes. 8 of the cubes can fit into the cube.
Miss, did you say 1,000 divided by 125? Miss, I got 8.
Yes, the answer is 8. All right, scholars, thank you for your time and your skills. Your brain power is very sharp. Okay, so Teresa in the chat is saying 8. Ajani got 8 as well. Thank you, those who are in the chat and those who are in studio with me. So tomorrow we will have our curriculum-based test at 4:30. Tomorrow being Friday, 4:30 to 6. Make sure you are either in the studio or in the chat watching that class. So good night, scholars, and I will see you tomorrow.
Good night. Good night, everyone.
Night, Miss
Good night,
Mahakoe.
Miss, and everyone else.
Good night, everyone, and have a blessed night.